every company has something that's broken. Career is at stake if they don't experiment on their own. If you start implementing AI, I think it's impossible that you will end up with the same team that you started this with. They're not starting from zero. They're starting from a lot of company knowledge. They're starting like from knowing internal systems. Like now it's an interesting time where everyone's like hugging their job because the market is so scary.
What would your advice be to marketers on what they should do, learn? All right, before we dive in, you're listening to the Executive Brand Podcast with me, your host, Thormeier. Each week, I sit down with top B2B CEOs, executive, and founders to break down their playbooks. If you've not yet, it would really help if you subscribe or follow the show because it helps us get on better guests and create better content for you guys. All right, let's dive in. All right, I'm here with Olga Andrienko, the CMO at Foxtery. Foxtery is a pre-seed startup building AI-driven corporate training that quickly converts employee expertise into tailored courses. Before joining as a CMO there, she was almost for 12 years at Semrush. She joined when they were doing 5 million in revenue all the way through IPO and beyond, and went from head of social media, head of global marketing, VP brand, and then the last role was VP of marketing operations, which I think is a very stark contrast. So I definitely want to dive into that. The reason why I wanted to have you on the show is because obviously you helped build one of the most well-known brands in SaaS with Semrush, helped build out the employee advocacy program there, which is really relevant. You're doing an amazing job with your own executive brand. And now with your new role at Foxtery, you kind of building in public as the CMO, and you're sharing all your campaigns and lessons and mistakes publicly on LinkedIn. And so I think that's really awesome. So thank you for joining, and let me know if anything should be kind of amended or added there in the intro.
Yeah, that's super accurate. I expected to give like a 30-second pitch, but you nailed it amazingly well. Thank you very much. Yeah, excited to be here.
So I remember we met a couple of months ago for coffee in Berlin, and that was when you kind of had just wrapped up at Semrush, and it felt like you were really excited to just go solo and do some advising and vibe code your own SaaS
Yes.
tool. I'm just curious why you ended up taking the full-time role. Like what thought process went behind joining a company again, and obviously at a very different stage to where you left Semrush.
Yeah. So I like to reflect on my career every now and again. And then I did this a lot in the summer. And I realized that that's the only gap I have, is that I had never really built anything from ground up. And also I realized that I don't want to go solo because solo is lonely. And I really love being a part of the team and building something larger than myself. Uh, and yes, I vibe coded the employee advocacies, but then, well, MVP was great, but realizing how much effort I need to put in alone to build like a secure website with payout and then just publish this and push it further. That's something that I decided that I will park. And then I met the founder because I was a speaker at one of the webinars, and he joined. And then later we connected. And I felt I was always passionate about employee learning because I was passionate for employee advocacy. So I always really, really love like investing in the team. And that just felt like a great match.
When you posted about your decision to join Foxtery, and I think you actually wrote a little bit about work-life balance, and it's kind of interesting because I feel like there's somewhat of a trend of maybe marketing leaders being burned out and either going into this fractional advising or, and I've seen you do this, I've seen Tom Wentworth do this, where he was CMO at Recorded Future, a big company, and then joined Incident.io, which is Series B startup. And I think part of his reason was similar to yours, where he just wanted to have more ownership and actually get his hands dirty and build stuff, including with AI. Do you think can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah,
And
for sure. So in my last role at Semrush. So I switched from brand to operations because I thought that, okay, like, well, marketing is the same marketing as it used to be, but now with different systems, different backend, different operations. And I understand all marketing channels. I worked with most of them, being like, well, the owner of them or the key stakeholder. And now I need to rebuild all the systems. And being a part of the large public company means that you're very restricted in terms of AI that you use, in terms of approvals of different software. Like if the terms and conditions, like terms of service, say that they will be learning on your data, there's no way this software would be chosen. Only like very secure software. So I cannot just look at the startup and then if I want to test the product, then I would not be able to give that access to our systems. And here I just asked founder, like, what's the restrictions? And then he's basically like, he said, none. Obviously, there's GDPR and then
Yeah.
it's just like common sense. But apart from that, then I can just test anything. And I talk to marketers and corporations, and they feel that they're like lagging behind. Like now it's an interesting time where everyone's like hugging their job because the market is so so scary.
Yeah.
At the same time, they sometimes feel stuck because they know and they realize that they're not learning fast enough and there's a lot of FOMO. So I was like happy to trade the even like Series B. Like it's just like it's a scale up. And they're also like this is already the like brand where you have a lot of like reputation to break if something goes wrong. And if you're in a pre-seed, like if you succeed, that's great. Like if you don't, like if your experiment doesn't, that's you don't lose much. So
Yeah.
this is a really, really great sandbox to play in.
Yeah. I had a question about this, going from VP brand to VP marketing ops. But before that, just based on what you said, I'm just curious, do you have any advice that you tend to give marketers who are maybe in that position? They are holding on to their role. It's a scary market, lots of layoffs obviously happening. What would your advice be to marketers on what they should do, learn, etc.?
Well, depends on how much free time they want to invest. But this is like now I would say that their like career is at stake if they don't experiment on their own. They can vibe code some solution. They can at least launch the MVP. API would be such a low cost, like within like $100 a month, they could be able to sustain like lovable super base and APIs.
Yeah.
So even just gathering the market intel and just playing out with the tools without selling them would be great. And another thing is depending on what API and what AI tools are already available within the organization. But if that's Google, then they're actually lucky because Google Suite has a lot of stuff like, well, Gemini has, well, image and video generation baked in. Google has Vertex AI, Google has Opal, and they can really try and even build something within their workspace that could help their daily work and really succeed. So it really depends on what infrastructure they have already.
Yeah. And you mentioned lovable first. Is this kind of learning how to vibe code something as a marketer? Is that almost like your number one?
I just use it, and I also have access to both. Well, I would not recommend Coursera since it's more of like a development ground, but yeah, either Lovable, Base 44. But yeah, Lovable I think is just the easiest, and they're now like really adding functions. But yeah, whatever works, like Riplet, Vercel. So yeah, just whatever tool you have access to. There
Yeah.
is there are plenty of options.
Just do you have any resources that you use? I don't know, a course or a YouTuber or something that you found particularly useful, or just getting in there and
yeah, just getting in there. And I learned so well. So first of all, so I joined the Lovable Accelerator
Mm.
and so they've launched one. They also occasionally launch like some gigs, like she
Yeah,
codes.
hackathons, like
Yeah,
she
yeah.
builds, I
So
thought, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that's something I would recommend. And they all teach how to use their platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, or also when I was vibe coding the my MVP, I was just asking Claude and ChatGPT and
Right.
just like, this is where, like, I don't understand this. Like, you just explain this. And also YouTube, just a step by step guide on how to set up everything in Lovable. There are a bunch of courses in there.
Yeah. Now we're gonna span a little bit from like
Yeah.
lessons from Semrush, which is big company, public company, to then your new role at Foxtery. But I'm just curious at Semrush, when you made that transition from VP brand to VP marketing ops, obviously, I guess you spend a lot of time trying to figure out what workflows should be built, what could be built, what can be automated, where could we leverage AI that would have a big impact. Where do you right now see, let's say for the larger company, some of the lowest hanging fruit or highest leverage places to leverage AI, N8N, vibe coding, some of the use cases that you feel like would apply to a good number of companies?
The most effective departments outside of product would be sales and customer success. That's what was outside of my realm.
Yeah.
But because these functions are so large, and also the cost of software is incredibly high there, like it's nothing compared to marketing department. And
Mm.
that's like, well, even the smallest automation or improvement in in qualification of leads, or some automation would really save costs. And also, well, just even prepping how sales team talks to the customers, or optimizing how customer success and well, just answers and handles queries,
Hmm.
or where this information goes afterwards. Because I believe that like not all companies really learn based on their conversations with customers from sales and customer success, and this could be, well, a gold mine of ideas for marketing, for product, for also
Mm.
preparation for the sales enablement. And there is not like a full cycle of learning. For example, what I tried to do, like we were not able to get full access and AI connected to Chorus AI and Zoom Info. But what I was able to do is export the conversations and transcripts, and then we process them with proprietary AI, and then use this for content creation. So
Hmm.
that's where also you can plug in marketing. And yeah, I was very focused on optimizing how we write content, also content guidelines, and verifying content that comes from all sorts of teams. But those are still, like, all marketing optimizations and automations are still um, less impactful that what you would launch in sales and customer success.
But for you in the marketing department, what's maybe one AI workflow that you were able to implement that you are
Yeah,
maybe the
we
proudest of? And then what's one that you weren't able to implement that you were just really, I don't know, sad because you had, I don't know, high hopes or expectations?
the one that we really implemented quite quickly, and I was very happy because that's where I kind of managed to show the teams how AI could really help them work and lower down this fear or
Hmm.
unsettling attitude towards AI, is where we removed the time for reporting, and all the teams were reporting. They were like spending from 5 to 10 hours a month on a management report. And so we standardized 4 slides that they had to submit. And we asked them for that in the presentation. We collected everything, and Semrush is using Google Suite, so we had Gemini approved. So then Gemini analyzed all of the content from all of the teams and processed the consolidated management report. And teams went from like spending up to 10 hours like to 2 hours. And then also we as a team as a team of 3 people, spent at first 5 hours collectively and then 2 hours. So I cut down the time, and also this was something that was annoying for teams.
Soul draining, yeah.
So another automation was also very easy when we calculated share of voice from influencers. And there was a spreadsheet where there was analysis of competitors, and then share of voice within 40 influencers per each competitor. So that is manual work, analyzing how much mentions of Semrush, how much mentions of other brands were on X or on LinkedIn. And that was fully automated within 2 weeks. And that saved influencer manager like 6-7 hours of manual work that she didn't like. So that's where I really believe most companies should start with, is like routine tasks and repetitive tasks, because they have not hired their workforce for those tasks. They need to get creative.
What's one you weren't able to implement that you felt like would have been great?
Yeah, that was a complex one, and that's content creation. And I believe that's like custom GPTs don't work that well, and you can't train AI. No matter like if you're even 5 pages instructions. So I wanted to have the Slack bot where people drop their brief. Then Slack bot sends this to N8N form, and then N8N has access to RAG, like just a huge database of all knowledge base of all like product descriptions of all guides that Semrush had, like everything basically, like best practices, worst practices, and then also like a 9-10 page separate prompt that would actually have the analysis of best practices and worst practices, and instructions on how to write content for every channel, whether it's email, whether it's article, whether it's like press release. So when this brief comes in, then AI selects the content from RAG that would be relevant. Then there's this prompt with instructions, and then there's the first draft. Once there is a first draft, then there is another step with AI editor that also has the instructions. And after that, there is a specific Slack channel where I already started poaching people I really respected in the copywriting space. So I planned to hire 3 of them, and then the content would be dropped in that channel, and whoever is available from like outside copywriters who are like well overpriced, but they are like they were supposed to be editors, they would be reviewing the content and manually editing this. And then when they click done within the Slack channel, only then this content will be sent to the person who requested it.
And this was for any kind of content, like a press release, a blog post, a LinkedIn post.
Yeah, what was supposed to be that. Well, at first, what I managed to launch was the content checker that had the guidelines and that like was trained on best practices and worst practices and content, and was aimed at emails or landing pages. And the problem I was solving was that email team was bombarded with a lot of requests, and then sometimes content was really, really not what they would like to get. So I was kind of gatekeeping them, and also ensuring that whoever works in the content anywhere in company, like they know the guidelines and they're able to edit the content based on the assessment of AI.
And what was the bottleneck to getting this implemented? Was it just time, or was there?
It's just a complex thing to get gather all of the knowledge base, really label this, and then also set up the whole flow and test it out. And we tried the third-party solution that didn't really work. And yeah, this was just a complex build also with a lot of experiments needed to be done before
Yeah.
this would be a working solution, because still like AI content is like, well, it's the first use case everybody started implementing, but at the same time like it's just nowhere near the quality that
How do you
we.
think about managing the people things that come up with this? Because obviously that would make probably at least some people obsolete.
Yes, for sure. And then now, well, it's impossible to, if you start implementing AI, I think it's impossible that you will end up with the same team that you started this with. And some people, they would just, yeah, they would need to either to switch jobs or they would, yeah, become obsolete. At the same time, like it's, you can do a lot more if your systems are automated. So it just, if you're, well, the larger organizations really struggle right now because, uh, especially, well, like I would say in Europe and where um, the layoff laws
Hmm.
are stricter than in the
Yep.
US. So they are implementing AI at the same time. They cannot really
Lay
shrink
off
their
people.
teams.
Yeah.
Yes, but they have. Well, if that's where I really believe that this reskilling or educating existing teams is like so powerful, because if people have this like growth mindset, if they're ready to learn, they're not starting from zero. They're starting from a lot of company knowledge. They're starting like from knowing internal systems. Every company has something that's broken. So ultimately, they can just reroute their workforce and solve new problems. So I do believe that it just, while the systems are automated, people who are really like eager to stick with you and who are eager to learn, those are the people who will take you forward.
I'm going kind of off my agenda here, but I'm pursuing my curiosity. Who do you think within the marketing department in that new world, let's say with AI and automations and N8N and vibe coding, who will be the people on the marketing team with high leverage? Like I've seen some people, for example, see that there will only be, you need the kind of AI native, the people who are amazing at prompting and vibe coding and building AI stuff, and then there's the brand people who
Yeah.
have amazing taste, and you only need those two people. Do you agree with this? Disagree with this? Where do
I
you
think
land on?
I just always thought, okay, they're, well, people who are great with machines and algorithms, and they're people who are great with humans and psychology. So those are like technically like performance and brand, like we're digital and brand, and there definitely need to be like both sides. And I always actually thought, and well, I come from like a social media background, but I felt that social media, because people spend so much time on social, and people long for the community right now. They need support. And we follow people. We don't follow brands. It's it's now an art to create an account for a brand that's worth following. At the same time, those people are closer to the audience and not to the product, and that's why my input was always very powerful. And I was actually one, well, always like one of the loudest voices in the marketing room, because I was speaking on behalf of our audience, because I know what they're saying. And so, and if people spend 5 hours on social, then it's like the largest chunk of time they have in a day. And now we get people who are social media native, and they're an AI native. So there's a lot of power the social media manager actually has. Like often it's a junior marketer and they don't leverage their authority that much. But this is one of the most powerful positions, I believe, in marketing team. With
How has this changed? I mean, you were running Semrush's social media, I guess, almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, and how has that, and you just said something like it's now an art to create a brand social media presence or something like that you just said. So like I'm just curious what you meant by that and then how it's changed to 10 years ago.
I when I joined, Twitter was big, and even Google Plus was big, and so I just used um, those platforms to really start conversations. So I was commenting and engaging more than we were posting. My posting was
Through the
mainly,
brand page or
yeah,
your
through the brand
yeah,
page.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then I realized that we could start a Twitter chat. So that actually what brought our community together. And Twitter was really, really interesting space in the sense that you could create community together and it was public and everybody could see that your community were getting together. And how I actually started like pushing my own brand, I started posting a selfie after every Twitter chat. So when I was saying like thank you for joining, like everybody started like realizing who was behind the brand. So I really also encourage anybody who's like working behind the profile really show and like make it more relatable and just yeah like showcase your own work in the sense of art of creating the profile. This is well it's very difficult to create something that is worth following right now on the brand page. And I think, well, TikTok accounts are fun in that sense, but if you go outside of TikTok to other social media, then it's mostly never fun. And it's just more of like product announcements, and no one wants to follow that. So just really be having the green light even to test and talk more not about the company and the product, but like things and problems that your audience cares about, and also in a fun way. This is not what every brand is allowed to do, and not and right now, if you're not funny, like if you're not also just
Do you have any favorite examples of B2B brands doing a good job with a company page on LinkedIn?
well, I would say, well, I'm very proud of what We did with Semrush accounts. We were very funny, and now it's changing a bit because enterprise pool is quite heavy, and that changes the. And I can see this like right now. HubSpot was also funny, and but HubSpot, well, they didn't even push their product. They were just funny. Like it was interesting to see that this is purely brand play. This is like they're not there for the product. And yeah, those I really love. But this, yeah, this is not the brand page.
Who came to mind just now?
The Henry from Passion Fruit.
Oh yes, yeah, 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 yeah.
So it's but this is such a unique content. Also Abate from Clay, like he's also one of my favorite creators. So the most of the most of the companies, they try to leverage the brand of someone who's like unique in their creative mindset. But in terms of companies, well, there are some fun libraries accounts on TikTok, but the TikTok is where I think the management lets companies run loose a bit. But when it comes to LinkedIn, this is like a graveyard.
The series, yeah. Now that leads us, I guess, based on what you said, also with Henry from Passion Fruit to employee advocacy, and you helped build out the employee advocacy program at Semrush. Can you talk about that a little bit? Why you did it, how it worked, and how you activated
Yeah.
people?
I strongly believe that companies should create content for their people if they really want to scale the program. And one thing, there will always be some few passionate people that will post themselves like I always like, oh, my content is precious, like it's mine, this is my voice. And then there were a couple of people like that, but most of the time like people just say, hey, like give me what to promote and I'll announce it. And most of the companies, they don't do that at scale, and that's where the program stalls. So what we created at first, this was with the freelancer. So we had the channel, we had a, a board on Monday where anybody from the product marketing or from HR could post the news. There was a project manager on my side who processed that. She hired the freelancer, and we were producing from 10 to 15 posts per news. And then we had a Slack channel where we tagged people, and we shared the Google Doc with them. And people would go in the doc and then just highlight the post and say taken, taken, taken. So we knew who would be posting this. And this was like an ongoing process of there's news, we take it to freelancer creates the doc, we post it, and this was constant. And because Semrush is a big company, there was like a lot of news circling around. And then, well, different people resonated with different news. Some were passionate about HR, some were passionate about product updates. And that scaled us to like 10 million impressions per year. And yeah, there were a lot of people participating in the program. And then for the sales team, it was more structured with a specific software where they would come in, they had the posts, and then this was
What was the
more.
software?
I cannot remember. This was the part that was managed more by HR brand. Like we created content. There were a lot more impressions, like overall from coming from employees.
So you had news announcements. Per news announcement, you would have your copywriter write like 10, 15 different
Yeah.
things, and then people could claim it. So I guess per news announcement, there was maximum 15 posts going out because
Well, for example, it was like there was a post from me, but I was
you were.
not.
Mhm.
Yeah, mine was unique. So there was more announcements, but also from when, for example, of course, the executive team had their own, and it was, and we were not counting the exec team in our reporting.
And then was everyone in the Slack channel where they could pick a post, or did you select people who would be part of the? What is the incentive? I mean, I'm trying to think, especially if it's like company announcement, it's like, hey, we launched this feature or we partnered with this company. What why were people posting it? Were they just kind of like, was it proud? Was it usually something that they team worked on and they were able to sort of show, look, we accomplished this? Or like what were people's reasons?
I think it's also just depends on the culture of the company. Like, if people are happy and they want to share news, they share news. If this is something about the things that they were working on, like, well, you working on a product launch, and then just, or there was exciting product that we were launching, and we knew that this was like very, very timely. So this is yeah, I was like, I was sharing always just because I was like so passionate. But people are happy to also be more active on LinkedIn, and then I believe there are all a lot of people who are cautious of posting because they're afraid that somebody's going to think that they're looking for a job. But if company provides you this content, and if you feel supported, then it's great that you're more active, and then you don't have to really create content yourself.
Do you see any difference between employee advocacy and executive thought leadership, or is it?
Yeah, yeah, it's just very different. It's like well, one is just it's a surround sound. Well, in terms of employees, well, you can have someone from HR, someone from IT, someone from marketing, someone from customer success. Their audience will not be your target audience. This is a surround sound of like, and I saw this as a real estate in the, well, just when person scrolls their feed, well, they might not be looking to buy, but they just like, they're looking for like, they just brain consumes like what brands are mentioned. And in terms of executive leadership, this is where it's like the audience really differs. Either that's investors or that's other CEOs or C-suite board members, like media, like they're very, very different audience who's like following those accounts.
And I think when we met, we talked about at Semrush, you guys activated a couple of your execs, but that was kind of separate from
Yeah.
the brand that was managed by PR, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so I never touched the executive accounts like in my almost 12 years. So that was something that I managed the PR team, but that's the PR team who's always like, okay, there's a combination of press release and the announcements from the CEO and the C-suite. And later, like we activated accounts a lot more after the IPO, and then after we IPO'd, that like we had the PR separate from brand, and that's where I believe um, it's we tried to activate the accounts more. But there was the president of Semrush, Eugene. He's great. Like he is the one who always, we had the Facebook group for clients. He was always there when we had crisis situations. It was him and me and Twitter replying to people. So also you just need to pick the executive who's like naturally drawn to listening to the audience, to engaging with them. You can't engage someone who's not there. Like if it's just a post but there's no response later, that's not the connection that you want to build. So I believe it's very, very important to capitalize like on the existing passion for connecting with the audience, and that's what like was done with the president's account.
Now to transition here, you wrote a post about a week ago that I found really interesting, and I want to just share it here. Because you went from basically, I'm not going to touch my executives' LinkedIn, to now you are working with your founder at
Yeah.
Foxtery at the
Yes.
company where you're CMO now, and I think you're helping him
Yes.
be active on LinkedIn. And you
Yeah.
broke down kind of, I want to break this down a little bit in a moment, but basically you said, here's the 5 channels I picked for Foxtery: LinkedIn, thought leadership, and outbound email events, SEO, influencer marketing. So just on the LinkedIn piece, why did you pick this? And then how are you activating him? Like, how are you supporting your founder and orchestrating this process?
So we're not starting the thought leadership ads just yet. The goal is to start posting, activate the account more. And since, for example, there's we connect with a lot of audience through HeyReach. So let's
Mm-hmm.
say that there's a database from people from the conference. We enrich it with Clay. We have LinkedIn accounts. So we put it in HeyReach, and HeyReach starts, like if it's not connection, it starts connecting, it starts engaging with the posts, and then we send the message. So if that happens, but there is no content on the founder's page, that looks super weird. And if a person accepts the connection request, even if they're not replying to the message, they still start seeing the content from the founder in their feed, especially if we start connecting and commenting on their content, which happens manually. So I need to put just my founder's like face and profile on the radar of our target audience. And what we do, there is a combination of posts. There are product posts where he talks about the problem we solve, but then ties it into the features. Then there's his own thoughts on, like founder's thoughts on building. And then that's what he records in audio message, and that's what we transform in terms of content. And what I also did, so I picked the profiles of founders that I like,
Mm-hmm.
and Gal, Aga,
Mm-hmm.
Peeply, like many of them, and many of them were on your podcast as well.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Caputo for sure from
Mm-hmm.
Databox. So I scraped all of their content with the reactions, and then what I did with AI agent, I also put it in a spreadsheet with all the text of the posts with the reaction, and I filtered out the top ones. And of course, they're from different niches, but that doesn't matter because I really wanted to see what content performs. And then I also like asked AI that knew a lot about Foxtery to suggest and rewrite the posts in the same format or the same kind of like framing as those founders, but tailored to our topic. So I kind of
Interesting.
basically took the winning formats that I could experiment with and transform it into unique content tailored on our brand.
And this is, for example, like this is a workflow that lives in N8N?
No, that's actually I used Epify for scraping and I manually added all the accounts, but in bulk. And then I got like a huge JSON that's impossible to work with. And I used Manus.
Manus, okay.
Mhm.
How do you spell
And
that?
Manus.
Oh,
Manus
interesting.
AI. And so it can process large chunks of data. And then I didn't really want to have this. This is not a continuous workflow. So
Mm-hmm.
for anything that is not continuous and one off, you don't want to build N8N.
Right, sure. Yep.
And Manus transformed it into a spreadsheet. I have my Google Drive connected to it, so it created the spreadsheet. I have this all in raw data, tab by tab, by by every founder, so I can look at it every time I want.
And then what's your workflow from there? You pick 3 per week and send it over to your
Well,
founder?
I asked it to create like 20 for me,
Mm-hmm.
for example, and then I saw um, what it gave me. Like half of it, of course, is like garbage,
Yep.
which is fine. And then then we discussed how we can tweak, and then there's manual editing coming after that step
By you or by the founder?
by me, and also there's a marketer that works with me on this.
Interesting. And then you just basically schedule it out on your founder's LinkedIn? And do you see this more like the voice notes that your founder records, that's only for certain posts, is kind of the
Yeah,
building and
yeah.
public founder stories type stuff?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And then for the rest, like he approves what he sees. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's still like, but we talk to him like every day. So it's not
Right.
like it's not his content. It's like, it's his product. He's the main chief product officer as well. So he's a subject matter expert, like in corporate learning. So yeah, we constantly have insights from him. So based on this insights, we built something, and that's where he just then approves. And the next step is for me, like for this week, even to start creating blog. And then I'm combining digital PR with this, and we're collecting different studies. We'll be transforming them into infographics, and this is what I will also be using the founder brand for. So he will be pushing this infographics, which is like the type of format that really works on LinkedIn, and hopefully that like would add a bit of virality and also just attention to his profile. So that would be something that he would not be a part of because this would be different data from like public sources.
Hmm.
uh, and that would be this would be the post that would not be like based on his thoughts.
So you're finding research about, I guess, the learning and
Yeah.
development space.
Yes. First, like for ideation, I just asked, this was like a ChatGPT agent that went and also just deep research from Gemini that pulled all of the recent studies on HR, learning and development, corporate learning,
Mm.
some McKinsey stuff, and
Hmm.
just the recent data. And then we would group and there were around 15 ideas. So 10 is now, I think, the like backlog. And we would collect and curate this data in in one category, in one topic.
Hmm.
And then we would mention the data sources, and that's like, yeah, that's like legal curation, if we mention and cite them. And yeah, that would help the blog, that would help the links, and that would also help the LinkedIn
And then you
conversion.
use like Nano Banana or something to generate the graphic from that?
No, no, that would be a freelancer
Oh,
creating the
okay.
infographic. Yeah.
Interesting. Why no AI there? It's just not accurate enough?
It's just ugly. Like all the infographics, like even in Canva, like, well, and if I ask, it can only create simple stuff. Like if you
Mm.
want some circles, if you want some like, well, even like remotely, like I also really love clean infographics.
Mhm.
This is somehow like not something I tried GenSpark, I tried um Canva, and yeah, well, Google Suite would not create, like Nano Banana would not create a good infographic as well. So like this is just too complex in terms of like building blocks.
Interesting. How would you rate your process if you had to rate it 0 out of 10 in terms of how well it's working so far? I mean, it's still early days, right?
Yeah,
Since
it's
you
like it's 3 out of 10. I think in terms of my preparation, I'm really happy. Like also even this part where like I want to be data driven. I want to understand what worked for different founders. I don't want, and I always really believe that when even at Semrush, like I really learned emotive marketing from FMCG brands. Like I really didn't like the SaaS market in
Mhm.
terms of what it can teach me about marketing.
Mhm.
So I went to learn somewhere else. And here also, like I just need to see what works for for other companies and other niches. Like it's not the HR tech that I'm looking at.
Interesting. And then the voice notes, they just happen in Slack or something, and then you
And in
transcribe.
Telegram, yeah, it's in Telegram. Like, well, it could be Slack or Telegram, but yeah, now we're so small, we're not using like any
Yeah.
sophisticated chat software.
Yeah. So if I had to recap, you're leveraging your founder brand. So you're using HeyReach to connect to, I think you said 200 people a week. So you're sending out
Around then. Mhm.
connection requests to L&D leaders, HR leaders who are ICPs. You don't just build a cold list, you actually grab like a list of a conference
Yeah.
that you attended or maybe even didn't
Yeah,
attend.
attended or
Uh-huh.
didn't attend, but still, like, there's an app where we like we sent them messages within the networking app as well, like whether they replied or not replied, but we still want to also connect. The same would have like the same happens with Web Summit. There are a lot
Mhm.
more people. There's like, but the app is downloaded by everybody, so
Mhm.
we connect both in the app and on LinkedIn. And yeah, that's like where the connection is long lasting, whether the app just dies once the
Right.
quarter is over.
Yeah. And then you're posting 3 posts a week through your founder's profile using the process that you just described to create different types of content. Founder stories through a voice note, product updates, and then these kind of infographics that are generated from the external research that you're curating. And then how did the conversation go with your founder on like how to measure this? Like, are you guys expecting inbound leads? Are you guys
Yeah. Yeah,
expecting?
yeah, leads. And this is the complex, like, well, just I'm not reporting like specifically on his brand and then specifically on the outreach. Like the goal is still like if you early, then whatever you do that needs to bring in the leads. Right now, like, the product is not launched. Like it's gonna go live this week,
Mm,
hopefully. So that's where I cannot really measure still. Like um, it's only the demo requests and then just closed beta communication. But that's not the high scale that I would measure. I would still measure the traffic on the website,
mhm.
who stays, for how long, and then tweak everything that I'm doing. So it's just, yeah, now it's fully prep. So in terms of the preparation and how it's going, I would rate this like probably 7 out of 10. But like in terms of results, like it's just 3 out of 10 or 2 out of 10 because it's too early.
Yeah. How when you say early, like, is this something where you feel like, okay, we just need to do this for 3 months, or we need to do this for 12 months?
In terms of founder brand, I believe we need to do this continuously for years to come.
Yes.
So, and that's something where like the startups really like have high leverage, and then they're super passionate, they're focused, and also I think what once founder really sees traction, like he would be so much more involved himself
Hmm.
because he would be connected like with a lot more people, and there will be a lot of discussions.
Right.
I've not, well, I've never seen like a person who just sees like the boost in engagement and they're like, yeah, whatever. Like, so in terms of hey reach and mass outbound, our first campaign was not great, but that was expected. Now I'm doing a lot more personalized things, but I also will be trying the manual outreach where we reach out and say, hey, like we will build a course for you, like just,
Mm.
or even I want to build the tracking system where I would select like maybe 100 of ICPs in SaaS. And then SaaS is great because there's always like a new feature every month or every even like every week now for some. And we can track, like we can basically scrape their information about their new feature. And we can create the course for them without their input, especially if there's like some
Interesting.
overviews on YouTube. Like we would then take the information from that video, we take the information from their website, some overviews, like, well, that or comments on like G2. And then we would be able to really have like super tailored, super customized things where we outreach, but we already have like something so custom that they would be inclined to see this without them like not even lifting a finger. So that's where I would say this is like next step, but
Hmm.
yeah, this is, it cannot be scaled like properly, I think.
And I assume you'll also be using thought leader ads, and
Yeah.
you're using something maybe like Triggerfy to scrape the people who are engaging with the organic founder post to run some warm outbound, something like that.
Hey Reach does that, so I can copy paste the link,
Mm.
and it would, well, auto populate the list of people who engaged, and
And
then
then
we
push them
can,
to a
yeah.
campaign.
Yeah, I would personally say I'm not a really big fan of this. When I got outreach like, hey, Olga, you engaged with that content, and this is not. I immediately know this is automated outreach, and that just makes me
I think the
less
right way
interested.
to do it is, well, you scrape your own posts, you don't scrape other people's posts,
Yeah,
and then you don't need to mention how you found them. You don't say, "Oh, I saw you engage with my post, therefore here I am." You just reach out to them, and then
yeah,
the
yeah.
idea is just that they remember you, or your face kind of. Yeah, that's super cool. Now the hour passed very quickly. I guess this is exciting. I mean, I'm guessing this is exactly why you took on this role and decided to join a small pre-seed startup, because you can actually build and do stuff, and have an idea and get it
Yeah,
live the next day or the next week, and test and iterate, and you're not waiting for approvals or
yeah,
stuff like that. So
exactly.
that's exciting. I mean, that's also, I feel like that is the hopeful part maybe of AI, that a lot more people can just actually do work that feels satisfying, and are not just, I don't know, creating reports and managing people. And I guess there's some people who enjoy managing people, but um, yeah, that was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. And obviously, if people want to check you out, or Foxtery, we'll link those in the show notes. Anything I should have asked that I didn't ask, or anything you want to add here? That
I don't think so.
Okay, there we go. Cool. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
All right, this podcast is brought to you by Project 33. Project 33 is the leading executive thought leadership agency for LinkedIn. If you're looking to activate your founder, your CEO, your executives, or any of your internal subject matter experts, and create thought leadership content for them to build trust and credibility for your brand, reach out at project33.io.